Against this right back, Charlie's definitely.
People, Deluded, I'm back again. Now, Cecil's part of the furniture on the platform. He's been here a while. You know, he does his thing on AFTV and all the other platforms. Big up yourself, my guy. We got a lot, unfortunately, to discuss, but I did.
I'm good, man. I'm good. You know me, like, if I'm got a nice day at home, I'm happy to be here. And I'm all right, man. Arsenal, my life's all right. Arsenal, again, as always, it gets around a certain time in the season.
Glowing.
Stress. But yeah, nah, I'm good though, man. I'm very good. You good?
I'm good, man. You know what? If football is the only thing that you've got criticisms about in your life, then your life's all right, man. But that being said, you know, you talk about football for a living. I'm always making YouTube vids, whether you're a 9-to-5 or not. Football revolves around a lot of us, and Arsenal fans are no different. We ride the highs and we enjoy the lows. I want to kick it straight off here. How do you personally feel as an Arsenal fan at this moment, man? The last fixtures at home have not been good. Yeah, we beat Spurs, but we embarrassed ourselves, in my opinion, in the League Cup. Didn't get over the line in the FA Cup. Shot ourselves in the foot against Aston Villa. And it's a madness.
Right now, it's tough, innit? Because we're in the middle of a January transfer window when we've seen that we needed improvements, needed a striker. And on top of that, obviously, Saka's now been injured for exactly about a month. It was in December we actually found out he was going to be out. He actually had surgery, I think, a month today. And we haven't addressed it, which is, for me, a bit of a red flag. There's a lot of pressure on right, and rightly so, on the clubs, on the hierarchy to make a signing. But like you said, it feels like, you know, the past, like being knocked out. Well, obviously we're still in the Carabao Cup, but it's more like we're out. I've got to do that.
We live in hope, but reality is dark. It's dark.
Yeah, I've tried to flip my mindset to say, Cecil, if you're going up there, if you win that game, you're in a final. Imagine being there. So I'm trying to just be like a little bit of hope. Unlikely, we saw what Bournemouth did, so, you know, a little bit of hope. But then FA Cup we're out. So like the past couple of weeks have been a bit tough. But right now, as an Arsenal fan, I'm just like, I'm trying to hold on to the little bits of it's hopeism, whatever they call it, you know, copinism, whatever it is. And because I know this story, innit? We've been Arsenal fans for many years. I know how this story ends. I've been here, but I don't do that spin on the story very well. I'm a fan that, you know, likes to have a little bit of hope, likes to have a little bit of belief, hold on to every little bit of it. I mean, that's what makes football so great. So, and if you get that moment, it's great. However, that story where we know the outcome is very prominent in my mind right now.
Let us know what you mean by that, because like, for somebody, I know what you mean, but for somebody listening that's never heard your thoughts before, you've said hope and copium, and then you know how this story goes. What are you referring to?
Just like we know, like we end up with nothing at the end of the story. Like we go through all this, we go on to the highs and lows, and by the end of the season, we're left with nothing, and we go again. I mean, Patrice Evra said it. It's like next season FC, and it's a Netflix Arsenal like Netflix, and at first it got me vexed, but then that feels like the same old story at the moment. So that is how the story normally ends, and how it probably is. It's looking like that, but again, I'm trying not to be that fan and trying to hold on to, you know, the hope and belief, because, you know, football is a funny game, and of late I have been very negative. I think if people have watched a lot of the predictions on AFTV, I predicted we've lost in the last, I think, 4 out.
Yeah. I think you said we dropped points for Spurs, which I can't criticize you. I don't think anyone, obviously the main hope was it's a North London derby, Spurs are rubbish, etc., etc. But based on how we was playing, give or take, you can't confidently with logic say Arsenal's going to do X, Y, Z.
Exactly. That was me. I just, out of the last 3 out of 4 games I predicted we lost. I think a Newcastle game I said we'll lose 2-1. We end up losing 2-0. But I said 1 because I was like, the team are surely going to fight to get a goal back, because when we go back there, at least there's a second
I was with you with that.
It didn't happen. I was like, raw, that's not okay. Like, at least show us that. Because now we've got to go up there and it's 2-0. It's a hard deficit to claw back. And then I predicted, like you mentioned there, well, actually, in Man United game, I predicted would draw 1-1, which actually was that. And then it would go to extra time. We might claw a goal back or go to penalties and we win. We lost. But
we saw how that panned out.
Yeah. And right. And a lot of these predictions aren't too far off. And then the other one, the only one I was it was tough to gauge was the North London derby because anything can kind of go to North London derby. I predicted would lose 1-0. Well, I said 1-0 either way. In the end, that was my final prediction, and it ended up being 2-1 to Arsenal. But it was a tight game, 1-goal margin. And then Aston Villa, way off. I said 2-0 would lose. We ended up drawing 2-2, but 2 goals were scored either way. I didn't see us beating Aston Villa, who I think actually a really good side. In the end, it was 2-2, and I was wrong on that one. But going forward, like the game we got coming up tomorrow, I'm quietly confident. I've said 3s or 4-0 to Arsenal. I just feel like, and we don't have to go into that right now, but that is my feet. That's been my feeling of late. Some would say it hasn't suited me very well, but at the end of the day, that was how I felt because there's a lack of attack. We have a load of injuries and listen, that's not an excuse. Loads of clubs have injuries, but it's kind of the sign of the times as well. Arsenal, I haven't seen them get into a rhythm where I can kind of buy into and see, green shoots of success. Especially against the teams we're playing, who I think are actually well-balanced sides. And it's not just Arsenal that are dropping points to clubs throughout the league. Every team is. Like, every team in the Premier League are causing other big teams problems. So I didn't think I was too crazy with a lot of my predictions. But yeah, that is kind of the mood I've been in of late. But hopefully now, I'm expecting Arsenal to make a signing. And then from that, also, I know there's a break between when the FA Cup game that we're now out of the FA Cup game. Now there's a break in that weekend that we're going away to Dubai and doing some more weather training and trying to get the team.
They need to.
Yeah, they need to do it. And then hopefully from that, I expect a little bit of a run. And if that's the case, or even off the back of this Champions League, hopefully we win that game and we kick on from a run from there. That's what we need. I was hoping the run was going to start from the North London derby, but we drew against Aston Villa, which isn't too bad of a result, but it is when you look at the context of the league that we're trying to compete and go for. And then on top of that, you're 2-0 up. There's not really an excuse to say
it's a dangerous scoreline in football. We know this.
Yeah, that's the old cliche. But I just think, in that game, we felt like it was in complete control. Even when they scored, when they scored,
same case every week.
When they scored and made it 2-1, I was thinking, oh, we ain't dropping points here though. Come on, we've been in complete control, and then it happened, and it's just like that is very disappointing because I don't see how you can do that in the position you're in. But we can get into the nitty gritties of it all. But right now, I'm just cruising right now. I'm not in a super positive. We can go on and win this league still. It's still in the balance. I don't believe it's completely done, but I'm pretty much there. And then I'm not like sack everyone, get my man out. I'm not there either. I'm just and the people will be like, that's probably me all over, just towing the line in the middle of the ground. But I don't think there's any need for hyperbolic one way, hyperbolic the other way right now. But yeah, there'll be questions of the manager at the right time. I think at the end of the season, I think that's the right time to do it. And then if you go on and win something, then again, we can talk about that then. But right now, we're kind of just in the middle. This is the time of it. It's not crazy positive though. It's not crazy negative from where I sit.
I think you said a lot of things that we're gonna definitely touch on, man. And it's especially, I would say, the Aston Villa game for me kind of sums up where Arsenal are at, because I feel personally, Mikel Arteta, the players, everybody, we talk about fine margins owing into the summer and what we've seen play out, regardless of the injuries and everything. I don't think we've understood and comprehended it. It's not good enough to be the dominant team and have field tilts and XG and etc. You have to kill games before they kill you. And I know I'm exaggerating a bit, but I believe we see this every week with Arsenal. We have a lot of shots, have a lot of domination in games, have great periods, start games well, but ultimately we don't get what we need. We don't get over the line. You have to kill games before they kill you. And obviously the scoreline was different, but that Aston Villa game was somewhat reminiscent to the one last season where the first half of the game should have been put to dead. For me, a team that's chasing, and even if it is a dream season and we're winning Premier Leagues and things of that ilk, we know we need to be perfect, and Liverpool need to drop points. So when you find yourself, not slaughtering them in the first half, and you have a good 1-0 lead, but they got a bit of hope. 10 minutes or so into the second half, when it becomes 2-0, you need to see that job through. Obviously, once it becomes 2-1, I was looking at the boys like, okay, cool. Everybody sit there and say, you know what? Because you've played football, we've effed up now. This doesn't go left. Now I can blame Partey and blame Arteta for putting the centre mid at right back. I can blame the whole team. But for me, it feels like we give a couple of teams half chances and they take advantage. And I feel our manager and everybody comes out and talks about fine margins and all of these kind of things and a bit of luck. And a lot of it isn't necessarily wrong, but I think is devoid of context. But for me, we need to be on the right side of that. Like at very minimum, we should have conceded a goal or two or won at least 4 goals to 2. And then we're at where we're at. I want to ask you, obviously you do the AFTV thing, you collaborate with a number of content creators, you speak with a lot of fans on the ground, yeah. And I know obviously us content creators, social media people, we're in the limelight, in it. Like our opinions are heightened. Like you've got, you know, everybody. Some are more positive and negative. But I do feel, and I do say, when you go to games, like obviously I've watched you at the games. For every Mikel Arteta out, get him, there's people like yourself and myself, which there are reasons for Arteta to go. And we're not necessarily going to cry. There's reasons to keep him. But then you've also got the cult ones, which I feel you can't personally gas up Arteta and say he's amazing and this, that, and the other. And at the very minimum, hold him to those standards, because a lot of these contexts do have claims, but it feels like he's always devoid of responsibility, man. So my question, I guess, would be like, what's the feeling around Arsenal fans in and around the ground that you kind of speak to?
I think in and around the ground, and just for clarity for everyone as well, a lot of the times at the home games, I'm actually hosting on a watch long. So a lot of times I travel from the studio down to the ground after. So I get a bit of a different view. I've been to a lot of home games this season, but majority of late I've been doing the stream and hosting. And again, I get a mix of online, the YouTube comments and what's going on Twitter whilst watching a game, and that reaction to then going to the stadium, like you mentioned, speaking to all the fans out inside the ground. And I don't know, there is a lot of like, I think there's still a lot of backing when it comes to Mikel Arteta. It's from the stadium, from the stadium goers, the match day going fans. I think they are supportive of him. Obviously, there is some fans. I mean, Yardman's a prime example, shall we say? Like he doesn't want Arteta. He doesn't want Arteta in the job anymore. He's done. But again, I think if we go look at AFTV, there was that 1 week, I think, when because
it's looking like civil wars, man. I'm seeing lead judges and Turkish big them up.
There is in cases, but I think everyone's quite respectful. So even like if we talk about Turkish and that, like he has his opinion,
100%.
And I think, you know, some things he says I disagree with, and I've challenged in house, and then some things I understand. And like I said, I think there was a thing where, I don't know what game it was, but the one game we dropped points in, and only Yardman said Arteta out. There's only one, but obviously the internet likes to portray that the whole of AFTV has said Arteta out. It was just Yardman, and then a lot of the fans again are still staying with Mikel Arteta. They kind of understand what he's done for Arsenal. I know we haven't won anything with major, but they understand the amount he's brought to the club, changed the club, what he's done for it. Maybe might not be able to get it over the line, and that I can kind of understand. And that's when I see where fans can get frustrated and say, listen, we need to get a new manager to get us over the line. It's brought us this far. And I think that's actually there's a fair argument in that. And I always hear out people like that. There's some people that obviously are screaming him out and then saying nonsense is like bringing Jose Mourinho. I mean, Yardman, I love Yardman, but I think that's crazy. I think
you got Yardman
on your point, but also I come with a bit of sensibility. And you might want Jose Mourinho fans watching now, but I think that would be horrendous for Arsenal Football Club. And then there's like people where I kind of sit at times where I never discredit what Arteta's done for Arsenal. I am fully aware. Listen, for me, I think he's a genius. I actually think he's a very good coach. He will get another big job straight away. And I think he's clever in what he does. He overthinks everything. Fair enough, you may say, but I think he's so, you know, screwing on everything, every detail within football, that I have a lot of respect for that. I've been a player, like people that have so much detail. I think, you know, are good coaches, and he actually wants to show like winning. I listened to Abby and some of the Spurs fans recently, and they were saying like the DNA of Tottenham is there's nothing to do with winning. There's no focus on actually getting a trophy within the club. The whole setup within it's from the Enochs, the Levies, all the way through to managers. Like there's never been that culture in there. And someone will say, you know, Arsenal haven't won in a long time, but like I've seen these are small things like the shadowed out Premier League trophy at the training ground and stuff. And like there's little things, there's like remembrance times along the wall of where they were winning things, being successful, and they bring in legends. There's so much things about geared to winning in Arsenal, and Arteta has kind of pushed for that change. And then on top of that, like just basically, like I said, I don't discredit what he's done.
Keep going, man. This is you're here.
Yeah,
I want to hear all your thoughts.
I can keep going for it. Just
man, keep going. Pause.
Songs, the philosophy, you know, bringing back the style of play and whatnot to the way we are. Like just everything, the culture, bringing the fans together, the transmitting energy. There's so much things he's brought in and brought to Arsenal Football Club that I love. But this is crazy now. And I always argue with myself on this take. It's like that Havertz signing, and I'm not going to go... I don't want to be too harsh on Havertz, but I question it from the beginning, and I don't want to be one of those guys that are like, I have to be right. But I never really saw Havertz, one, as a striker, and two, like a top striker.
No, let's be honest. We failed upwards with Kai Havertz. Obviously, Arteta's not an idiot. He knows Kai Havertz can play up front, but the plan was to kind of make him the Xhaka replacement. Yeah. And if things worked, it would have been him and Declan Rice. We're at where we're at now. And I agree with you in the sense of, I'm at the point where obviously I can criticize Kai Havertz, where I think you're a striker or not, you're missing tap-ins or whatever, but you didn't buy yourself. You didn't make yourself a key player. I actually think he's been a bit more consistent than a number of our players, which tells our issues. And no matter how good or bad Kai Havertz is done, could that 65 million have been spent elsewhere and really fixing something like a proven goal scorer? I believe yes. And that's my problems with Arteta in that. I share your thoughts in that. I do think tactically, coaching wise, there's numerous question marks with how we're playing, but I do think you're a genius. I do think you've rebuilt the club, you've done all of that. I do think there's them fans that go, oh, do you only love Arsenal with a trophy? I've been in Arsenal. I'm 29 years of age. The vast majority of my childhood was trophies. Since then, it hasn't been that. So clearly, I love the club. Big up Arteta for all of that, yeah. But it's about getting over the line. The man himself says we need to win trophies. It's not good enough to be second best. Maximize windows, all of these things. Ultimately, there's nothing set in stone. So big you up for the rebuild. Since these last 2 years, 3 years, you haven't got over the line. And that's what we're interested in. That's my fault. And I know some fans, bro, will sit there and say, look where he took us. Look where we was, etc. Big you up. But in the same way, Ramsdale got us to a point. Tierney got us to a point. This one, that one. And Arteta said, you know what? We need to move on and upgrade. Is that the case with Arteta? Because I think there's reasons to keep him. And if he got sacked, I can't cry. I think there's reasons you should be sacked.
Listen, it's annoying because I don't think the board will sack him, but he can't be disappointed.
He's on 15 million a year, bro. He ain't getting sacked.
Exactly. But he can't be disheartened or disappointed if he gets sacked, because like you said, I was at the last game of the season.
It's a massive club.
He said in the ground, he said, like, you shouldn't be happy. Like, this is not, you know, we're Arsenal Football Club. We want success. You shouldn't be happy with finishing second. And, you know, that's what we're looking to achieve. And he talked about trust process. He talked about a 5-year plan. This is 5 years. So by the end of this season, if you haven't got silverware, then
this year we've regressed as well. We can't lie.
Exactly. But we definitely have. I'm judging you by your own words and by your own metrics, by your own standards. So
it's not correlating right now.
Exactly. So then I understand the question. That's what I'm saying. But I just think I'll wait to the end of the season. I know fans might be saying just get him out now. But yeah, I mean, for me, I'll wait to the end of the season. Then you can judge on him, what you've said, what your standards are. If you haven't achieved it, then rightly so. I can understand why fans, and I probably might be there on that side as well, saying, well, we might need to look for someone else. I just don't think the board will do it. And talking about the board, I'm sure we can get into it on this video as well. I mean, I see some of the comments. I saw comments saying about like the Kroenke out protest, and then photos of him as your Twitter header. Of course.
Yeah. You gotta chat to your chat to your boy, you know. Chat to your boy. Chat to the Kroenkes. Tell them to get the peas out, man.
Man was screaming. I was screaming Kroenke out at the time. The protest was right, and ever since then they got more involved.
You're not allowed to change your opinion, though.
Yeah, apparently not. Apparently people can't change, and you can't. Listen, call me a flip flop, call me whatever. I stand by it. That photo, by the way, is you walk into this yard, my yard, it's there. I'm so proud of that photo. And at the time, things were changing. He was investing more in the club. He was speaking more to the club. Stan is doing Stan things. He doesn't. Listen, when I met him, he doesn't have a clue what's going on, if I'm being real. But Josh,
he put his son to go deal with that and give us the lip service and whatnot, man. We can't lie.
Exactly. But every time I speak to him, even when we saw him, all of us saw him. All the AFTV lot saw him on the tour, and I was literally listening to all his interviews and I actually asked him. I said, how's things, blah, blah, and whatnot. And he just said, look, everything Arteta wants, we back him, we give him what he needs. Arteta, in my opinion, runs the whole ship. Like, I think there is. Of course he does.
That's why I'm onto him more. Because you just became a manager, bro. So if you've played for this club, right? You've been at City where you've seen the fine margins to win a trophy. I know people can laugh at Scotland, big up the Scottish, but you've won a league trophy as a player in Scotland. And I do believe there's internal pressure that you put on yourself, but I don't think the club necessarily wants to win. The minute we got back in the Champions League, we're in issues. I don't think the Kroenkes are them guys that will sack Mikel Arteta after giving him a 15 mil a year deal. That being said, within the next year and a half, we'll be at the halfway stage in his deal. Is that something to consider? Like, someone like, and I'll even quickly ask you, would you take Carlo Ancelotti just based off the fact that there's rumors that he could be available at the end of the season?
Yeah, that is true. That's true. That is facts. In the season, he's not re-signing. I mean, Carla, I mean, Don Carla, I mean, can you really say no to a manager of that
Because I
pedigree?
can't blame the Cronkies for being 2 points off last season. I can get how they ran the club, but I do think to the controllables that Arteta can control, he hasn't maximized it. Fair enough, you can cry about I didn't get a suitable budget in the summer, bro. But at the same time, why are you buying Moreno? Why are you buying Calafiori being devil's advocate? Why did you buy Kai Havertz? You haven't been faultless. You're not without blame, Arteta.
This is it. Like, I think
there's always an excuse.
Me and Turkish were going back and forth, but only because I don't listen. At the time of the protest, it made sense. Now I'm like, can you really blame them? Because yeah, you could ask for crazy more money, but I'm sorry, if I was, this is a fair argument. If I was and Mikel come to me after saying, yeah, we need a striker. I bought Havertz 65 million. I put him on 275 a week. Jesus, by the way, is on 250, the second highest a week, by the way. And they're two strikers now that you've backed, by the way, Arteta. That was Kroenke didn't want Kai Havertz, you know. Kroenke didn't want Jesus, you know. So you made that happen. And then now you're asking for more money for another striker. Granted, listen, I know we need a striker, and rightly so. I think owners should free up that money. But if on the board, there's an argument to say, brother, you've just put these men on this crazy money. You've asked for I've given you the money for that. Like, you want to know? You want more strikers? Yeah. So like, you got to make that work. So I don't know. I find it interesting. But the Kroenkes, I listen. I believe that, like I said, when I speak with them, they're backing him. So I expect a signing to come through the window, and it should be a striker. I think you'll be naive to not. I mean, I've said this before in a January window, that you'll be naive not to sign a striker, and he didn't that window. But this is different now because we have injuries to like Bukayo Saka, Ife Nyeris, and on top of that, we're not good in front of goal anyway. Havertz is not the guy. So yeah, that's the only thing. I think sometimes I question the direct, hey, even with Turkish, and we go back and forth and we have good conversations, and he'll always say, but owners, they need to be winners and all this stuff. But I'm like, brother, they're backing him. Like, not every owner.
I agree with that from Turkish, but like, regardless of that, Arteta's had chances to win trophies, and I can't always blame the Cronkies. Indirectly, everything comes from the owners, but Arteta's fumbled his own shit sometimes. Right. We can't sit here and lie.
Yeah, exactly that.
2 points off City. We're no closer to winning a league title. Liverpool, better. Yeah, they've had building stages, but onslaughts come out of nowhere. Now, I don't really care if Liverpool or City win the league. For me, it's a simple case of, you're telling me you want to win trophies. I see some positives. You're not getting over the line, and next team is celebrating. How long before we try something else? How long do you keep doing the same things before you try a solution?
Yeah, no, exactly that. You can't keep doing that. And I always go for what Arteta says. Listen, a lot of fans will say he lies a lot, and he's lied to me in press conferences.
Managers are liars, to be
so fair. That's fair. But like, I just think when he said, like, I think a report asked him, do you need a striker, or are you going to get a striker? And he said no. Oh, do you need one? He said no. We don't need a striker. Like you don't take us for idiots there. Like,
I don't think this striker solves everything, but clearly we do, man. Stop.
Yeah, because for me, we need a striker and a winger. I just think it's going to be, he has to, in this window, he has to sign a striker. If you want to have any hope in like, I have small hope in little things. Again, the Carabao Cup, I have to go to Newcastle. I'm dreading that trip to try and overturn a 2-0 deficit. But if you get a striker, I have a bit more belief, if I'm being honest. I have a small
player, full stop, man. Look at our front three. You don't rate Sterling. Trossard's somewhat turning his form around, but he's not levels. Havertz, we're at where we're at with Kai. We all know the injuries. For me, it's not sustainable, and it goes back to the summer. You can't want to compete on 4 fronts with a squad of 13, 14. It's not making sense.
But it's the one thing, right, that irks me. This is what just eats away at me as an Arsenal fan, yeah? Aubameyang, yeah? Cool. Arteta fell out of him in the end. But look at it, yeah? Single-handedly, and I think I'm right in saying this, got us the FA Cup in the final periods. He single-handedly put
attacking players make the difference. Facts.
So
where would we be without Saka?
How the hell does my man, and I'm a fan of Mikel, not listen? Aubameyang, he didn't. I'm not gonna say he saved your career, but I'm telling you, he prolonged your time at Arsenal when things were going dark. That FA Cup held you in as a manager at Arsenal Football Club. So, and that's thanks to Aubameyang. So I don't see how he doesn't think one striker. And by the way, we got him in a January window as well. Let's not forget that one striker can be the difference. So listen, Champions League
goals win games, bro.
Exactly, is a big ask, but you get someone in. A striker that
remember that year Van Persie was basically the difference between us getting top 4 and not. Like, obviously it's disingenuous to say it's just him, but goals win games. It turns defeats into draws into 3 points, and we don't have scenarios like last year where we missed out by 2 points. We're doing the same things and expecting different shit.
This is what I'm saying. I've been in football a freaking long time, my whole life. Yeah, I've been in part of football, and And I understand the cliches of, listen, defenses win you leagues, and that there's a lot of truth in that. But when it comes to cups and something that now we're really looking at for saving my man's season, go and get a striker that is of good quality and push the ball. Because I actually think if you do it right, you will get the striker you want, but you have to just negotiate well and push the ball, because there's prime examples. Again, RVP got us into that top 4 by scoring those important goals. Aubameyang got us that FA Cup. Mikel, you should know this, my brother. You have, and the thing is, I like you mentioned before, I don't love the style of play right now, the way we're playing. I don't love it to how I've loved it in past seasons before, but you get the ball in the areas where you create enough opportunities for goals to go in. Some will say we are lacking creativity wise. We're not creating as much chances, but you're giving.
I don't want to create from central areas, man. But we've had chances. Man,
we've had enough chances. We have enough possession to control games, to create enough chances for a good striker to convert into goals. So for me, I keep talking about strikers. I just think it's the most glaring, obvious thing to address right now as a fan, and I'm on a big platform, and I think we have to always talk about that right now, because I think it can be the difference to kind of partly saving our season, or if not, building for next season. As much as I don't want to think about next season right now, and the Martin Zubimendi news and all that malarkey is all for next season, at least get a striker that you can kind of build on top of, either save your season or also build on top of for next season.
So how much do you think we have to pay for the summer? Because I gave the summer a 5, 6 out of 10. For me, in terms of recruits, it's a 4. In terms of, getting Eddie Nketiah or Smith Rowe off the books, even though I don't agree with it, you got some decent money. Now, I give it a 4. I give it a 4 because I don't think Moreno's a bad player. I do think I would have seen I should see a bit more than what I'm seeing. I think if we brought in the Zubimendi, or I don't know, the Douglas Luiz or Kamares, and Moreno comes in as well, people look at him differently. I don't think and I think Calafiori will work out well, but I don't think any of the players we brought in immediately challenge anyone in our strongest 11. Maybe in time they will, but they don't. So then how do we get into the fine margins? You mentioned a striker, which I'm with you, and an attacker, a wide man, which I'm with you. Even if this is what people forget, people like to do this. Obviously, context is important. Context matters, but context happens to all teams. People talk about injuries. Even when everybody is fit, we have spoken about injuries. Even when everybody's firing and goals are, on the face of it being shared around, we've talking about needing a proven goal scorer. We've spoken about the bodies. Me personally, on the field, I've talked about the lack of creativity. You got the negative cocktail of the lack of creativity, and you don't have clinical players. Goals win games. I think the whole team's dropped off a cliff defensively. It's Lewis Skelly's doing his thing. Gabriel Saliba, Raya, they're always going to be good, but we're conceding far too many sloppy goals. So how much of the summer, because we didn't do what we needed to do in the summer, how much of that has engineered our downfall, and specifically Mikel Arteta and where we are in the league? Because I feel we failed to plan. We planned to fail. And me and you are talking about January. I don't think there's any excuses, but it's a difficult market. That's definitely not an excuse, but you're trying to do the impossible and probable now. Well, you should have done it in the summer.
There's so many ways to answer this question. I want to go with
it all, man.
Yeah, there's a lot in that question. So firstly, January is a difficult window. It's not an excuse, but you're spot on there. But I'm getting annoyed when I'm seeing, I just saw come through Wissa. Who just tried to get Wissa? They just put in a bid for Wissa. It was Forest, not a Forest. Okay, it's just been turned down. But
Chelsea been linked with Vlahovic and Sesko as well.
And then West Ham put in a freaking, 58 million pound
madness. Man, I tried. That's really trying.
See, so this is right. That's where my frustrations lie. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand some of these players, they're not leaving, but I haven't seen bid from Arsenal. I've seen links, and links can be anything.
Always some Victoria's Secret stuff that we're doing on the back burners.
Word, brother. I just think, come on. I can see evidently that teams are trying to improve. They're putting in bids. And by the way, I'll take Duran, by the way. I don't think he's worth 58 million. But I would take him. I'll take anyone at this point. But I'm just saying, at least clubs are showing intent to try and make these signings. I don't see that from us. I'm seeing links, talks, but that can be PR. That can be agents just saying, put this out there. That can just be fans even making links. We do it all the time when we want a player. We say, we're linked to it. We're linked to this person, even though there's literally no one's contacted no one. So those are the first things I want to kind of eradicate. I think I need Arsenal to start really trying. At least you're already too late. You're already too late by not addressing this earlier on. That's another thing. Many windows I've said we need a clinical striker. And I don't
say it for years. Haven't replaced the Aubameyang. Haven't replaced Granit Xhaka.
Exactly.
Or the replacements haven't done the replacing.
And I don't like to do the whole you can't change your opinion flip-flop thing. But I've been consistent with we need a goal scorer. One, because I take pride in our attack. I'm an attack. I started playing football because of Thierry Henry. I am a striker. I need.
I was watching highlights and I saw Adebayo, Van Persie, and Henry and Cesc Fabregas behind them. It made me think, wow, like we ain't had that for a while.
That's what I'm saying, and things like that. Like I relish that. So I've been screaming for a strike, and we've been consistent with it because if you go to the AFTV USA tours, we've been doing videos every tour about we need a strike, we need a strike. I got laughed at for Marcus Rashford back in the day when that was 2 summers ago. That season had the maddest season of his career. I said we could have got him in that season anyway, but it goes all the way back from when I first kind of nearly started AFTV talking about we need a striker.
You're talking about striker when Lacazette was up front. Then Lacazette could do a thing in this squad. I'll be real.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Even that, yeah, bloody hell, Mr. Hold up, push out your bum and pin a man, brother. We need we need goal scorers. Pause. But Jesus,
we've been speaking about it for time.
But man, even those days, so like it's always been an issue. It's something that is frustrating, and I hold against Mikel Arteta, and something that I'll always say that's where he's kind of messed up. I even said when he signed Havertz, this could be the sword he dies on, because if he doesn't get it right.
Gonna have to. You mentioned he's on 200 grand a week, whatever, probably 4 or 5 year deal. Obviously, I mentioned earlier the strongest 11. Yeah, now big up Kai, because I don't think Kai's a horrible player. I wouldn't have bought you. Don't think you're a difference maker. But if I'm keeping it 100, second half of last season, you was a lot more consistent than Bear, man. You're actually one of the first names on the team sheet, which tells the problem. But going back to what I said about the strongest 11 and fine margins and all of that, yeah, if you imagine whatever have you, Arsenal's Arsenal's starting 11, and you look at the front three, give or take, probably going to have Kai Havertz up front, Saka on the right. Whether you want Trossard or Martinelli, that's your business. 2 of those 3, all 3 could be upgraded on. If you can find someone better than Saka, I'm all for that. Pick him up, though. 2 of that 3 needs to be upgraded. When you're going into a season, if we want to be a team that can get top 4 in that, we've got enough. If you want to be a team that wins leagues and gets to latter stages of competitions, you need to know my man can get us out of trouble when things are going wrong. You know how many games Isaac's probably just got Newcastle out of problems? They've been shit. He's just scored a couple goals. You need a winger. We haven't got that, bro. So it's like, you're right on the money, man, but I cut you like you're right, man. I'm just frustrated about the striker thing.
No, it's frustrating. And again, the original question obviously is about the summer window, and I'll go back to it. Now, I can put my hand up here. We actually did a video about it, because I remember, because I tried to stay consistent with my rating. I think I already rated it 6 or 7. I think if I'm going to be completely honest, it might have been 7. Now it's not a 7. Of course it's not. When you look at everything, you have to revise that.
Not allowed to change your opinion, Cecil, man.
You know, and I'm not allowed. Yeah, they might kill me for this, but I'm only going to go down by 1, and I'm going to say 6. And it's frustrating because it should be lower than that, and I understand that. But because of
recruitment front, it's a 3 if that, man. I can't.
Yeah, because of the outgoings, which we mentioned, I look at a window in full totality, and I think, yeah, the outgoings kind of boosted up a little bit. It is probably below. Yeah, it's probably like 5 or 4, but. I'm gonna hold up.
He got in the circle in my chat because he was consistent on that. I have to give him his flowers, but go on.
Yeah, and even big up. Listen, some people at AFTV Turkish were saying like, it's a 4, and we were like, what, you guys mad? But I like I said, I think the outgoings really boosted up, because as players in the club, I didn't really want there anymore. We need to move forward. We brought Sterling in, and at the time, I thought I bought into the PR. Man came in and said, you ain't seen the best.
There's no way other than to buy into the PR, because Sterling, I back him because he's a yard man, but there's no way you look at that summer and think, Sterling is pushing Saka, Havertz, Martinelli, whatever. Maybe the Sterling of YouTube, what he looks like, but this current version, myth. Relationship of convenience.
But also as well, like, again, it's lower than a 5. But at the time, like that PR video call, Calafiori, who I actually think he actually was a good player. I just thought,
I like him, but right now you're not doing nothing in it. And thank the Lord for Lewis Skelly.
And Mikel Marino was a Euro Cup winner. So like for me, I was like, okay, we are. It looks like, and we're only 2 points off last season of winning the title. I thought this, for me at the time, you think that can be enough. We needed a striker. Granted, I mentioned that on all the transfer videos. That is inexcusable. We need to address that. But I thought there'd still be enough to get us over the line. However, now looking at it, it's been poor. And big up Ethan Wanyeri, because he's come in and been a revelation. Obviously, he's injured now.
Big up me about the Lenders, man.
Exactly.
Big up MLS and Ethan, man.
Big up Miles Lewis Skelly. He's kept my man. He's kept everyone in that position. There's a lot of left backs. He's kept them.
One of the few players that gets it right now, if I'm real. Like one of the few players that is showing us a level of consistency and mentality of what we want to see by the club. And that young man has been in the team 7-8 minutes, and it's testament to him. But I think it's a damning verdict on his teammates. Now, I'm not naive. Clearly, I don't think the players or Mikel Arteta don't care. But for whatever reason, you're coming up short. You're always the bridesmaid and never the wife. So I have to ask this question. As Cecil said at the start, we have been here before. Now, I always say, I don't tell you what to think, just think. Who am I to tell anyone what to think? If people believe Mikel Arteta is the guy. They want to follow him religiously. That's their business. If they believe he's not the guy and they want to hate on him religiously, that's their business. I do hear both sides because I think there's a lot of intangibles. I think a lot of people have their egos and don't want to. I think a lot of people that bury their head in the sand and, you know, gas up Arteta to high heavens and then don't hold him to those high standards. You can lie to some people some of the time, but when it's evidently in front of you what's going on, you can't. Like, there's always an excuse like, oh, what is Arteta meant to do about these injuries and these things? Bro, we've seen these injuries. Like last season, yes, we had a clean run. We should have been thinking, let's hope that that happens next season, but let's make sure we're prepared.
It rarely happens.
Exactly, and it really happens. And then even that, we still miss Partey, still miss Timber, still miss Tomiyasu. And I don't think we had enough bodies. We question our squad when everyone is fit, when Saka, all the injuries are not a thing. So I don't think we're learning, man. And for me, I need Arteta to learn quicker. And I think he knows that as long as I get top 4 or I don't collapse and I keep showing some improvements, the Cronkies are not going to get at me. Cronkies are just happy to have Champions League. And I've left this question up here for a while, yeah. Obviously, we've spoken about the summer. Do you think Arteta is the guy before the guy now? Like, do you think there's a platform for, in theory, somebody coming in and maybe if they're in a situation not finishing 2 points off City?
Yeah, I do. I want to talk about at some point just
go ahead, man. Go ahead, man. Talk what you want to talk, bro.
The style of play that Arteta's gone with. I just think I don't know if he's done it to reserve, I don't know, players' energy levels to.
Oh, we heard that in August. I told people that's BS, man. No one goes into a game thinking I need to rest myself to the second half of the season.
But it's because the way we play is so just like side to side, like and listen, at times it's not free flowing side to side. Let's not get us confused when we're playing teams now. Because listen, when I was doing the whole, I don't back this team to win these games against either a low block because we found that we struggle against a low block because we can't get a clinical finisher to, you know, break it down at times. I say, okay, cool. When a team does that, we struggle. But then when a team goes hell for leather, when it's like a basketball match, back and forth, I don't think we cope with that well either. I think Arteta's word...
They're chess matches, man.
Yeah, I think he shivers at the word an open game. He hates that. He's
scared of the counter-attacking transition. That's why he sets up like this. He's shook of it.
But from my opinion, I'm like, Arteta, like, you can't break down a low block, but then when the game gets open and you go, say Newcastle or Liverpool, if it goes back and forth, we lose that battle as well because I don't think we go bar for bar with teams that do that. So I'm like, well, what is your best asset? And it ends up being this whole controlling thing, but that's also currently taking a dip now.
And everything has to go right for that to work. And that's where fans get into this, field tilt, XG, we had all these shots, we didn't win, luck weren't on our side. And I hear all of that. That's not without logic, but I'll be real. I don't think you lot have played football.
And being a player as well, like that style of football, it may get you a goal or it may get you in the lead, right? But what it does is you try and contain, which we see Arsenal, the same shit every week. We might go up and then try and contain a lead and we try and control a game. But that invites more pressure on the defense, which have been superb. But because we're not killing off teams, say like a Liverpool, or when they'll keep going for it, they'll keep trying to score. And
we dropped 12 points from winning position. Now, yeah, there's been red cards and that, but generally for a team that wants to win a league, that's not good.
And I think that's down partly to the style of play because he wants to control games. And that for me, when I'm a player on a pitch, and I've been in a team where we have that. I can't even. It's a tactic where you go on a score. It's called Peter or whatever. Like you sit in to basically maintain a lead and just keep the ball and dominate possession.
We don't even do that well. It
doesn't always work. Majority of the time, it doesn't work because the pressure just starts to build and build and build and build, and then you can see the momentum shifts, and that's massive in football, especially in the top leagues. When momentum shifts, it's difficult to try and hold out a game. So
especially away from home.
I think we struggle from that. But let me just go back to the original question that was on the screen earlier, which said about, you know, is he the guy before the guy? I mean, again, I'm a fan of Arteta.
Some would say, Brendan Rodgers potentially.
But even like,
and I don't think that's a disrespect because I think Arteta, you go win trophies elsewhere and do well, all right. But I only really care about my club. If you've got us to this point, next man comes in, cool, Arteta, you weren't the guy, big you up for that, you know, move forward.
But even a Brendan Rodgers, who I think he gets a lot of respect in his career, but I just think like even a Arne Slot and Jurgen Klopp, like look what Slot's doing. Like we've got good players. Yes, I get it. Liverpool have world class Virgil van Dijk, Salah's, but let's not get it twisted. Bukayo Saka's, Saliba, Gabriel's, the Declan Rice's. If a manager comes in and can just do small little tweaks, I think he could potentially be, the next step. And I don't want to
Yeah,
take
like
away
for
from,
me, I'm not Arteta till I die. Like I think there's some good things. I think there's
yeah,
reasons for you to be sacked. I can understand both sides of the debate. For me, I won't cry if you left tomorrow and you tried to get Ancelotti. Personally, I think this conversation is a bit redundant, anyways, because I don't think Arsenal are a team that says, you know what, after giving you a new deal last year, we're gonna sack you and rip up that contract, give you compensation, bring in Ancelotti or whatever. And as we both know, Cecil, there is that reality where a new man might come in, and as much as I agree with you, like Saliba, Rice, Saka, this one and that one, the new manager needs to put his own spin on things and needs that authority. Because what if he comes in and says, I don't care about Havertz, whatever he's on, I don't care. I don't care about Declan Rice. I don't care about this. I need X, Y, Z. I don't know.
Yeah, I just think, listen, again, I'm a fan of Arteta. I think he'll get a big job after this. It's his first job and he's done so much. I've got to give him the credit and respect. But again, there might be that small tweak, like you said there. There might be a manager who's had, he's got heritage of winning big trophies that says, bro, you need a clinical finisher. Like goes to the board and says, to get this team winning, that's all I need. And let me just put my my ethos and mentality into these players, and we're there. So it could be that. It really could be that. I think Arteta's done so much. Again, like I said, all the things around the training ground, the philosophy, the fans,
Pick him up for that.
all of that.
For me, it's
But
just
all that
over the line now. You're struggling.
all of that stays when he goes. Like I think if he goes, and listen, I'm not saying sack him now. I want to make that very clear because I'm not on that. I'm waiting. I want to see until the end of the season, and then I can say, okay, cool. Listen, I'm going to hold you to what you said. This isn't. We haven't been successful. 5-year plan, all that. But a manager can come in and do them little tweaks because, like I said, everything that he's brought in doesn't change. Like the fans don't. When Arteta goes, don't lose love for the players again. Don't drop the connection. The song doesn't go. The training ground, like things that inspire you to go win trophies doesn't go. It all stays. So all it is you bring someone who has a new identity, new ideas, or maybe just small tweaks. And maybe when the next manager comes in, that's
competencies in the areas Arteta's potentially lacking in. That's not getting us over the line and capitalizing on these fine margins that everybody talks about.
And a good manager sees that. I'm sorry, I'm not being funny, but when Slot went to Liverpool, he'll be an idiot to come in and think, fuck it, let me just rip up everything and change everything to how I want. And
them man there found solutions as well. They didn't get Zubimendi. Gravenberch is thriving in the six.
But that's the small changes you need. Sometimes it's just like, okay, I'll come here. This academy player can fit perfectly here. I can get him to that level, get him in, and we go on and win it. Because Slot would have been an idiot, like I said, to overhaul Liverpool and can make complete changes.
Too early in his tenure to be doing any of that. And you didn't have a transfer window like that. You got a half-fit Chiesa, if anything.
Exactly. And the team. I think the team loves Slot, and so did the fans. So and he had a good team there to work off. He had a good platform to work off. So, like I said, they've been a fool to make big changes. And I think if we got a new manager, they'd be a fool to completely rip up and change everything. I think they just need to make small little tweaks and potentially that make them massive get over the line. Because if I'm being real, Arteta's cup record is poor. I know he won the FA Cup, man. But ever since then,
especially in these last 3 years, because I always say 3 years because I know he's been there longer, because this is when I've looked at it like, we're actually serious. Since we won the FA Cup, he shanked it. Let's be real, Cecil, he shanked it. The Champions League last year, I'm not really vexed at you. I think there's learning curves for both teams to learn from. But we've been poor, bro.
Yeah, first year, but last
how we performed in the League Cup final the other. It's unacceptable for everybody at this club. Unacceptable to perform like that against Newcastle, man.
Yeah, that one, I can't justify. Even some of the Europa League games back in the day as well. I can't.
It's like we half step. We half want to be winners, but then we don't really want to do that. Like it's jarring, man.
There may not be as much emphasis. I think that there should be, but because the club is so focused on the league because we've got so close so many seasons that I think a lot of the players buy into that mentality, like league. Not to say they F off the cups, but they just, I think the FA Cup, the League Cup, it's not like the Champions League for them or the Premier League. And you know what? That's probably subconscious, if I'm being real, because I think us fans do it as well. So that was.
Do they think you have a divide? Sorry to cut you, but that's a good talking point. Do our players and our football club and our manager, do we have a right to do that?
No, you mad? No. Do you know how much, brother? Do you know how much I wanted to win the League Cup, bro?
You're in the semis.
Brother, like I will be, and it's gonna happen if we don't beat Newcastle by 3 goals. I'll be so angry, and it's funny. Me and James we laugh at it because obviously we always are around fans, and they just like, they always say, but the Carabao Cup, like it's nothing. Even Robbie at times, like he disregards it, and I'm like, bro, I actually have to tell him off, like, Rob. I haven't won this in my lifetime. You're the same age as me, so we haven't seen us win it. And yes, it can be seen as like a a smaller trophy. I get it. It's not one of the majors, but we can't turn our nose up at silverware regardless. I'm so sorry, fans. I don't care what you've lot think,
Especially when you don't get the other ones over the line and you're left empty-handed in May and that. Like, we all saw the bigger fish to fry and all the stuff that they get at us Arsenal fans about last year and the year before.
Like Ten Hag and that man coming in doing 2 trophies and that, like, and yeah, granted, I wouldn't want to be in Man United shoes, but I'm sorry, like, they've won trophies in that 2 years, and
they've made history in that regards. Like, Ten Hag at the end of the day won 2 trophies. Like, yeah, people that were around it where Man United, they're going to remember the nuances that they won those trophies. There's a bag of problems at United, but 20 years from now, Ten Hag can look back and say, you know what, I went to the biggest club in England. Whatever they say about me, it says 2023 or whatever, FA Cup, League Cup. As great as it is with Arteta, we haven't done that, and he said it himself. Like, a lot of us fans want to cry behind, hide behind someone, hide behind about, 2024 was the best team. That tells me that there's a lot of positives, but you need to get over the line. And the man himself said that. Like, nobody cares. I don't think the players are gonna. I don't think they're gonna be sat there in May and say, "Oh, we were the best team for half a year." It doesn't mean anything. If you don't win the league, it doesn't really matter where you finish. Yeah, Champions League places, all of that kind of nuances. And yes, I would rather, if I don't win the league, rather finish second than 19th. But it don't really mean anything. It's just another case of being the bridesmaids. And for me, I always wonder, for Mikel Arteta, more so the players, because you've got players that have won stuff away from Arsenal, right? But where I look at Saliba, Saka, them kind of ones there, for club or country, they've been so close to winning something major, but so far, how long before they think, oh, you know what, man can do something elsewhere? Because I still think they're buying into it, but at some point, they're going to have to look around, bro.
It could be sooner than
all 3 of them got 2 years left. I think Gabriel Magalhaes, who I think people sleep on when we talk about going to bigger clubs, Saliba and Saka. There's a lot to do from now till the start of next season.
Yeah, Arsenal fans aren't going to want to hear it, but that is... Yeah, man, that is something that is a serious thing. You have to get things over the line. Like, what did I see the other day? I think I saw like Son has been at Spurs for like crazy amount of years. I saw when he first signed to now and won nothing, and like won Tottenham and that. But even the whole Harry Kane thing, like, I know our players wouldn't want to be regarded as that. Like, I remember
Saliba even says I want to win trophies, so they definitely don't.
And big clubs are like when Real Madrid, they've knocked on his door lightly, but don't get
clearly flirting. Come, they're in a group chat, and Mbappe, Tchouaméni, Camavinga, they're gassing him from that. We know what time it is. Same way Rice was getting gassed by the England lads here. You know what time it is.
Them knocks get loud, bro, and you can't even discredit players for doing it. Like, so that's why it's so important that we do win stuff, because like I just think I remember Eddie saying, like, Eddie Nketiah, when he was just like, oh, I was the England captain under 21s, and like all these players were making debuts and playing for their clubs, and I was still like on the bench. It was annoying me. Like, that's a small insight to football's mentality when clubs go away for England camp, for the first team, Saka and that. You're seeing Phil Foden or Jack Grealish, who's stinking at the moment, but he's coming back, brother. I just want a treble. Like,
we've won more trophies than he can count, man.
Bro, like that. When you finish as a player, when you finish your career, like you look back on what you've won. Like you can talk about individual honors, but I know for a fact listen, I've been lucky enough to speak to a lot of the Invincibles, and they always say, like, we look back on what we've done, like what we've won, and that is.
Take your interview with Sol Campbell, because at the end of the day, had he stayed at Spurs, you wouldn't be called a Judas and all of that jazz, and you probably could walk the streets of Tottenham safe, but you wouldn't have no trophies. What would you have?
Exactly. That's what he said. Look at the team. Look what they won.
Because what would you have at 35 years of age or even 70 when you're telling your grandkids, I used to whatever? Now Sol Campbell can say, I left, as mad as it is, I left that club. I won a trophy at my former club. I became invincible. And I think he spoke on another podcast about, I think he was the first like black centre-half to score for England and do this and do that. That's all that matters at the end of the day. They're the things of dreams. So I think you're bang on the money.
So yeah, that's what I just think it's imperative that Arsenal start to win trophies. I mean, we all know this. It's just like, if you want to hold on to these players, it's very key, and it's tough because, like you said, they are still buying into Mikel Arteta. I actually 100% agree with that.
Yeah, I don't think they're down tools yet. I just think everybody's soft at the club.
And we haven't got things ticking as we used to, but they definitely still playing for him, and that's why I also think the manager's not going to get sacked either as well, because if you look at the Martin Zubimendi deal, he's heavy. Listen, remember, Liverpool wanted him. I think City wanted him. There was loads of clubs that wanted him. And if you read why he's coming, he said sat with Mikel Arteta, spoke with him, and we've done a
tells you the man's influence at the club, like, and this is why I think he should be held to high standards. Like.
Exactly. And most players, I'm gonna keep it 100. I know. Listen, I speak to Edu, and he says it's all of us. We agree on a play and blah blah. He didn't lie to me then, but I think Havertz was heavily just him. Havertz was heavily Arteta's decision, but also on top of that, a lot of the players that come in, they say they speak to Arteta, and that is it. They're sold. Like Rice speak. A lot of players that come in recently, they all speak about Arteta's influence. So that's another reason why I don't think the board will sack him as well, because the players that we're bringing in, I mean, I know some people want the big signings, but a lot of them are wanting they're coming for Arteta. But yeah, I think it's important we start to win stuff. I think that's the main overall conclusion of that. Otherwise, the players will leave. And I think you look at some players' characters who will go more than others. I think Saka, it will take a lot, but I mean,
his would be like Henry for me, man. Like where we went from like 06 to 07, whatever year we went to the Emirates, where a couple of players were starting to leave, and Henry, based on, I remember the interview, he basically said, "Listen, there's a younger group. I need to win stuff anyways. I want to win the champs." We're at two different kind of pages. I think because Saka's come from the academy and all of that jazz, I think there's that. I think people will sit there and, you've seen the pictures of Saliba in an Arsenal kit and all of those things as a youth. But at the end of the day, it's one career, man. And he speaks about wanting to win trophies anyways, and to be recognized as the best centre-half. I need to win trophies. And I think we've all made peace that one day you're going to go play for Real Madrid. Yeah. I just want you to win stuff here. There's no issues with that. Like it's jarring. And you mentioned something, and I want to ask you, because obviously I believe a manager, it's a bit like Wenger. Clearly, man want to come and play after Wenger. If Arteta can convince players, that's great. But do you think he's got for someone that's not been a manager for that long and should be learning week in week, year in, year out from his experiences now? Do you think he's got too much power? Because I think there needs to be a sporting director that could be the David Dean to Mikel Arteta if he was Arsene Wenger, because I think you're allowed to do too much. I think, obviously, I've never had a conversation with these guys, but whenever we look at the signings, like actually getting rid of Aubameyang because it's in the all or nothing, bringing in Kai Havertz,
that was all Arteta.
Exactly. Yeah. Aaron Ramsdale, well, David Raya at the time, Calafiori, Kai Havertz. Now, some of these things have worked and didn't, but you always hear not everyone unanimously agreed it was Arteta who pushed. So that tells me that Arteta is the favorite one at the club. But do you think that's also an issue?
I've never actually looked at it like that, but it can definitely be a growing issue, and it probably
there's so much for the club right now, man.
Yeah, because like I mean, no one man should have so much power of a club that is the size of Arsenal. But and I know they talk about a team, like you see in the Amazon, the All or Nothing documentary, they have that meeting every day and they all come together. But I think Arteta has a majority of that power from what I know, what I've been around, what I've seen. It does feel like that. And some would say some say it might be a good thing, but I also think well we haven't won enough to say it is a good thing. So it probably is at this stage.
Not really much to justify that.
No, like everything that's changed within the club heavily went down to him. The bringing in the North London Forever song, like all of that, he wanted that, like all these things that the things
the
training ground. No, yeah, I know some fans don't love it, and they've changed it.
Yeah, people coming to the Emirates.
Yeah, they were singing it after kickoff, which I didn't really agree with, but now they've changed it. But all these little things, but like that all come from Mikel. So yes, having too much power, I think a sporting director is key. I think now the stage that we're in as well, he has an obscene amount of power because Edu's on garden leave. Like Edu's not really.
We don't have a sporting director like that. Big up Jason Ato, but so madness, what we're doing.
Like Edu's obviously there's rumblings about him being upset about the money and the power I suppose that Arteta has, and is why he's kind of there was rumors about that. I still don't know. There might be soon. I did have spoken to him, but hopefully soon we'll get an interview and then we'll have
make sure that's on AFTV, man. Hey, in the ITK CECIL soon land people.
We're sorting that out. So hopefully that should fabricate, but it can't happen until he leaves. I've to come up summarize with the answer. Yeah, I think he does right now have a lot of power, and I've seen it actually. I've actually seen it when we're in America how much they respect him, and I think it's because of the whole, at the time of the Kroenke out protest, big up, I was there, cool. And the whole of Super League stuff, our owners were getting heat. And at first, a lot of the times where people were calling for the owners out and stuff.
It might be the shield, like Turkish says.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think they felt it. But then now after that Super League and that protest, I think they started to feel it. And bringing in Arteta and what he's done, think about it, if you were in that position and then what he's done since then. Yes, he hasn't won too much, but the like you said, the shit, like no one spoke about the owners for so long, like being painted on in the tunnel and stuff. Like they're probably thinking, raw, I got to give up to this man. That's why he probably got gifted that contract. Regardless, to me, I think that's crazy. It's a lot
because we're getting Champions League football, man.
Yeah, exactly, and that as well. So they're probably thinking, well, my business is doing all right. They're not. I haven't got targeted on my back now anymore. This is the owners, by the way.
There's divisions, but it's not quite everybody at the protest. Because that's why I asked you that question at the start, bro. Because I feel everyone's allowed a valid opinion. If you think Arteta is or isn't the guy, I think too much people try to force people what to think. I do think for those that are overly negative, I think some people can't see any positives, and I think for those that just see 100% positives, I'm talking about the irrational on both sides, the cults. I think they absolve Mikel Arteta of stuff, and I feel for me, I'm a person that, like, even with content creators, whether it's on AFTV, whether it's big up Northside, Jess, Lee Judges, Dan Potts, Lee Gunner. The list got Turkish. The list goes on of different content creators, And why I mention that is because they're all on different sides in it, but we all want the best. And for Arsenal, and I think sometimes I might not agree with someone that's overly positive or negative, but they might drop a little nugget that I'm like, okay, cool. That's what my thing is about. And I think many people look at the messenger rather than the message, and that's where it gets jarring. And that's why I asked you that, because for as much as some people are questioning Arteta, there are cult likes. Now, social media is one thing. I've been at the ground. People are like, oh, you can't say that about Arteta. Look where we want. So I agree with what you're saying. I think as long as the sentiment doesn't get too mad, as long as for every Mikel Arteta out, there's a Mikel Arteta in, as long as we're a mixed bag where there's some positives, where we're not quite achieving what we want to achieve, but we're not, I think he's cool. And if I'm sinister, I'm not saying Mikel Arteta is this, because I can question how you're going about winning the Prem, but I don't necessarily think you're going about it the right way. I think this. You've got a sweet gig. I'm a youth man as a manager. If I win stuff at Arsenal, great. But there's so much that I've been exposed to that I'm going to be a better manager somewhere else. And I don't think the Cronkies are someone that's going to sack him if it goes left. And could you argue it's almost like Arsene Wenger all over again to a degree, and that we're kind of here but not there.
To a slight degree. I just think I don't know. I haven't seen the fans turn so much yet in terms of what it was like when Wenger out days, but like I can see them holding on. But I feel like the fans will apply enough pressure for them to hear the owners. That is, if it gets too mad, like say next season, if they stay on board, because I've still met fans. I spoke to name drop. Sorry, forgive me, but Nines the other day, and he was like, "Give Arteta another." Like,
tell him shout me. That's a dream. Love, shout me. Let me hold the Arsenal chain as well.
But he was like, he said, "You better not be Arteta out to me." I said, "Not yet," but I said, like, I understand it towards the end of the season. We can really have a conversation. He was like, "Nah, man, give him another season." Like, blah blah blah. You can see we're almost there. I said, "Bro," but that we was going back and forth. But there's fans that are kind of like, they still buy into Mikel Arteta, and it's funny. I think right now, like you just mentioned, a load of content creators. My thing is, it's my character anyway. I'm never gonna scream for a man to F off or get out. I'm never that. But I can hear, like you said, I listen to everyone and hear nuggets and think that makes sense. That's kind of where
everyone's different. That's how man express themselves and whatever, like, or women or whatever. Like, I'm all for that because I think life would be boring. Like even AFTV, that's the whole reason it started. You had Ty, you had who's obviously a lot more positive. You had Turkish, you had this one, you had that one, and that's like life. Not certain things might cross, certain things you might agree with, but no two people are alike. And football mirror society, there's some people that are overexcited. We win, we're gonna win the treble because we see the Arsenal fans bring on Real Madrid, this one, that one. We're mad.
Invincible this season, all of that stuff. I hear it. But also on top of that as well, though, a lot of people, which I see through this a lot, they never wanted Arteta in the first place, and they hold on to that in the back when things are going good. They're
1,000,000%
quietly, but as soon as things start to go a bit the other side, they're Arteta out. So I can name multiple content creators that I know didn't want Arteta, and then he wants to be proven right. But I'm not going to do that. But that's one thing when I listen to people, I have to see where were you at the beginning, because
and again, and you're right. There's nothing wrong with being committed to your opinion and changing it and whatever. Like, because I might think Arteta's the guy tomorrow. I might think he's not. As long as evidence is provided why he's not. Because one thing I would say, even with what you're saying, there has been some people that didn't want Arteta anyways. But as I said, I always look at the message. They might be agenda driven or whatever, but a lot of things they've said have been extremely consistent. Because I see it. Some people sit here and tell me I'm pro Mikel Arteta. I hate Mikel Arteta. I don't agree with none of that. If I see positives, I'm gonna say it. If I see things looking left, I'm gonna say it. I'm not burying my head in the sand. I'm not committed to my ideology. Apart from Arsenal winning something, bro. Significant.
And that's how it should be. I think that's the fairest takes, in my opinion. Just like, and if you come in with facts, I get it. Like, but if you and then we can have a full conversation and justification about it. But yeah, it just depends how it is. But I just think when people want to be proven right, I don't love that. Because even still, like this stage, like I said, and again, I am a fan of him. I have like him. Kroenke isn't out on my wall, so people will say, "Oh, that's why." But no, but like I can see why people are upset with Arteta, and I question him. Like I said, when it gets into the season, if things aren't what I hope with silverware success, then I'll probably be on that side as well. But I do it fairly, and the same with I keep going back to Turkish because I just think we have really good conversations about just like I just don't think it's right time to blame the board right now. But he's always like it's always the board.
Oh, let's get into that. Why?
Yeah, God. Well, that's kind of what it is. I just think they've backed him. They've backed him. I think right now they've backed him. The only thing is obviously it's a striker thing. But I just think when I listened to Mikel Arteta, he said, "Do you want a striker or do you need a striker?" He said, "No." Like if you're saying that to be a shield for them, then that's different. But I don't know what the facts are. I don't know if he's not getting the money for a striker or he actually doesn't want a striker and wants to find a solution around it another way. So for me, I just think the past couple of seasons, I mean, record signing 105 million. We we're one of I think 3 teams have £100 million player in the Premier League. That's why
I think it's multifaceted, man. I think we can get the Kroenkes, but Arteta isn't spending the P's right or he isn't controlling all the controllables to his fullest extent, in my opinion.
That's what I'm saying. And me and Turkish, we went back and forth for this, and he kind of said, okay, and he actually he half agreed. He just said, but then if they don't sack him by the end of the season, well, if they don't sack him when he hasn't won anything, then it's the board because they're using him as a shield, like he's mentioned before, and they're not wanting to go to another level. They're not wanting the success. But I'm like,
I think he's right on that. I can't lie. I think he is.
Yeah, no, I
think he's fully right. I think if we were to go to the next level, it would have to be down to Mikel Arteta's coaching. But I think we've got the negatives. I would say is Mikel Arteta does a lot of good, not learning from his mistakes. The Kroenkes will do enough, but never enough to get over the line. But like you said, end of the day, they've spent money. Has Mikel Arteta spent the P's right? So I think this is why I think as long as Mikel Arteta has a respectable league finish, doesn't necessarily get embarrassed on paper in the cups. For every negative, there's some positive statistics and players growing. I don't think you're ever going to get sacked because let's be real. Up until the week Emre left, there was to-ing and from-ing. What really was the reason Emre left was clearly you was losing the players. They weren't fighting for you. But we all know that you were working at AFTV. There's no bums on seats. We're looking a bit toxic. That's what gets man the sack.
Yeah, exactly that. And that's what it will probably have to, which sounds sad, it's probably what have to come down to because the board are going to, like I said, we spoke about in this video, all the things that, they've done to really see, as if you're an owner, you'd be like, fair play, like we need this guy in. But when it comes to football fans, we want to see winning, and they don't really understand. But then they're American owners, and granted, I actually think a lot of fans right now complain about their ownership across the board at clubs. If I'm being real,
yeah, we're not alone.
Saudi. Exactly.
Unless you're a City fan, maybe Chelsea, but it's more the direction. Exactly. I wouldn't potentially Newcastle. Everybody's a bit. Liverpool fans definitely. Liverpool, they don't United defo, us defo, Spurs defo.
And if I'm honest, when I look at all of them, I don't think we're the worst. So, and that's not to back the Kroenkes because I get what fans, they keep saying the board. But I'm like, I was in that state of I didn't know enough to really be full hog. Apart from when I was at the protest because we needed a change. But I feel like I've seen a change. So I'm like, I'll give him credit. But if again we don't win stuff and they keep him in power is in Arteta. You have to look at them and be like, look, we need a change. But right now, I don't feel like that should be the number one issue. Right now, it's get a freaking striker. And I don't know who's blocking that. If that is the board, it's the board's problem. Our campaign I'll be on them. If it's Arteta's problem, which I only know from what he said, we don't need a striker, I'm on him. Sign a fucking striker. Sorry, excuse my language. I should not swear.
Nah, you can swear, bro. This is football. This is football. As I said, I've done. No, I've done content and I do content and I watch content of very different, like I said, from the Lee Gunners to the Tom Cantons. And I feel there's a lot of nuggets everybody drops. I think the one commonality that we all want is Man want to just see Arsenal win. And I do
Yeah.
think there's a small section of Arsenal fans when they sit there and say, oh, you only love Arsenal when they win trophies. Clearly not. I've been my YouTube's probably been here like 6-7 years. I've been supporting us for 29 years. If I could have cut it several times, which makes me ask you this question, yeah, because I've left this on the screen for a while, yeah. How do you feel about conceding both goals from set pieces? Do you see that as a weakness for us? Because I can remember a few times we've conceded from set pieces. I mean, we're scoring from set pieces, we're defending poorly. Is it a case of it's necessarily set pieces, or are we just switching off too much? Are those, for me personally, bro, I feel from the striker to the defenders last season, guys wanted to die before they wanted to concede. We finally looked like a team that really valued clean sheets. Now, I'm not saying that's necessarily the case, but there's too many cheap goals. There's too much phases of play. There's too many. When I look at our goals, there's several phases where it could have stopped. Now, every goal is avoidable, but I feel that's been here since the start of the season. But where are you at with that?
It's a good question. I saw it up on the screen for a while, and it made me
Yeah, sorry for violating you lot in the chat, man, but we were just engaged in something else.
Yeah, we can roll through comments as well to kind of end off it. I don't mind that. But that question, when it was up and you was talking and stuff, I was trying to ponder on it, and it's annoying. It feels like, and this is not the answer, but it just came to me like, Saliba's not been there when we keep conceding from corners. Like, I swear, I think that's the case. So think about it. Bournemouth, he got red carded, then we conceded that amazing free kick. No, sorry, corner when he put in the box, set off the end, and blasted to corner. Saliba wasn't there. The last two set pieces, Saliba has been in. He wasn't here for the game. So I'm like, he's not. Listen. There's no way. I think that's all the set pieces that we conceded. I may be wrong, but that he's not the common denominator. But
I think did we concede one against City like months ago? Probably. I can't remember when it was.
But it just feels like Saliba might have been there. Actually, yeah. The Man City one actually must have been there. But I don't know. It just felt like I looked at the ones that came to my mind. I was like, right, Saliba wasn't in the defense for them. But
yeah, vast majority of them.
Yeah, but the majority he hasn't been there. But that's not the case. I think it is switching off. I think, is it a weakness? It's definitely one of our strengths, scoring from them, but I don't think we overlook defending them, if I'm honest, because a set piece coach is brought in to do defending and attacking. And Nicholas, you have a big him up. He's done well in the attacking ones. I think he wouldn't fall asleep when it comes to defending. However, of late, we have conceded from them. But again, I think it's a facet of the game where it is what it is. I think pressure builds when you haven't killed off a game, and when you get a set piece. When the team's in momentum,
kill or die, man.
Yeah, exactly. When the momentum shifts, right, and a team scored, and you get a set piece, the fans build, everyone builds, and the pressure builds. So that feels like that's why we might concede, because it just becomes a load of pressure, and it's a gamble, it's a risk. Bro, being a defender set piece, I used to hate it. It's a luck of the draw. Like, if you look at the keepers don't really have too much say on what happens in a set piece, because
they're getting blocked off even more in today's day and age.
Exactly. People are getting better and better at set pieces, because one, they may be looking at us as well and thinking, okay, that's another facet that we need to use and utilize. So maybe it's a victim of our own success. So I don't know. I think it's just part of the game. It's just a part of the game, like, and I don't think it's a complete weakness, but it's just football. That's what happens. You concede from anywhere in the pitch, but I don't know. I've rambled and I've kind of waffled on that answer. I haven't got a solid answer on it. It's something to look at, but I just think it's football, isn't it? Like, you concede from everywhere, and we score them. Sometimes we concede from them. Is what it is. It's not something I'd be honing in on if I was Arsenal, saying, look, we need to stop this, because teams recently have just been converting their chances. I think we just need to look at my main thing quickly from when it comes to conceding goals is, we're not idiots, and the club shouldn't be idiots. The danger man always seems to be a problem. How do we not stop that? I think it's lack of focus on.
Is that Ollie Watkins, Jimenez?
There we go. Look at
too easy.
Thank you. Give me the exact reason.
Even the Liverpool game at the Emirates, the one time we gambled, you're letting Trent have time to get his head up. You're not following Darwin Núñez's run, and Salah does what Salah does. Fine margins.
It's the obvious people you need to keep your concentration on throughout the whole 90 minutes. Ollie Watkins, you mentioned. Isak scores from against us. The obvious people.
Times two with the Isak one, because he done us at their place in the league.
Exactly that. The Salah's like the most obvious people.
Letting Pedro Neto shoot as well at Stamford Bridge. Crazy stuff, man.
Jimenez as well, you mentioned. The most dangerous people in the team. Please, all you have to do, Arsenal, is throughout the full 90, just focus and lock.
We can throw Mbuemo into that as well. I'm starting to wheel them all off. Can throw Mbuemo there.
That's all it is. That's all it is. It's just focus on And granted, you do well at putting out fires, Arsenal. I understand that, but it's the full 90 minutes. Look at the danger man and make sure you know where he is at all times. That's where I think we slip. It's lack of concentration on those sort of players, and they're smart, these players, because that's why they're the best. They'll go and float over to the side where you're weakest. The Thomas Partey's of the world, they'll go and target him because he's
we
not
only see is that when it's too late, like at the Emirates.
The fullbacks, the Zinchenko's of the world, they'll drift into pockets or in the midfield. If they're not getting joy against Saliba and Gabriel, which happens a lot of the time, they might sit in that midfield space and pick up the ball, but
wait.
You have to be aware of that. These are top players. As a team, just focus on the main danger men, because they're the ones that seem to be punishing us. Because at the end of the day, all they need is half a chance. Because that's why they're so good. That's why they're the top players. That's what we're missing. So that's
the fine margins. And did Cecil, this is what I'm talking about. When the club, the owners, the players, they're talking about fine margins and luck. I believe you make your own luck. I believe that when we always talk about this fine margin stuff, where you could look at several games that we've said and more, like City, Liverpool, Brighton prior to the penalty. For me, whether we should have won, could have won, referee, red card, whatever. Why are we never on the right side of that fine margins? We're never actually on it. And for me, a lot of these games, there's been times we could have killed it. There's a reality. We're contesting whether it was a handball with Havertz or not, but we've won the game. We're crying about the penalty given against Brighton, but we killed that in the first half. And I don't feel we really recognize and comprehend football's a 90-minute game. And I only say that because in May don't care about context, How many games did you win, lose, draw? Where are you in the title? It doesn't care. Because let's be honest, when it comes to football and you've played the game, there's some games you win and you were shit and you should have lost. There's sometimes where you do draw and you deserve a lot more. There's a lot of times where you lose and you don't deserve to lose. It's a 38 game, there's 38 game calendar. So it's like we're laughing if we're trying to really believe that means anything. To kind of wrap this up, Cecil, though, I want to go through the chat a couple 1-2 questions. The first one is DG talk about how ish Partey is. Partey was bugging out for that set piece. I mean, for the marking from the dead balls, I'm not going to lie. But I think people are being a bit dishonest. You can criticize Partey. I think he's been one of our better players this season. Where you been? I think you're muted, bro.
Sorry, apologies.
Minor.
No, I'll keep things short to end off when we're going through the chat. So quickly, Partey's been our best midfielder this season. So he was shit in that game. I think both of the goals kind of came through him, but I can't discredit him too much. He's playing right back again. It's not his strongest position, and it's not even down to him. Look at all the players that are out: Timber, Tomiyasu, Ben White. No, sorry, not Timber. Tomiyasu, Ben White. I mean, those are the main
now.
Saliba's that right back.
Gabriel's been out at a time, bro. Who hasn't been injured? Be a better question.
So that right back, there's been so many players out, and Timber was out. So it's only by design that he has to go there. He's like fourth choice, but
Calafiori's fit. Maybe he goes centre half. Lewis Skelly left back, and then we Partey's in midfield. I don't know.
Well, I'm if you go and check out AFTV's coming out, the Predicts 11, we looked at changes to basically check that out. Right back. So check that out. It's coming out. It should be coming out today. But so for me, Partey isn't been the best midfielder. I don't want to criticize him too much, but again, it's looking like he's not going to be here next season anyway because we're looking to replace that position. Next one. Havertz is not a centre forward, Cecil. Trust me.
I wanted you to answer that because this big up boy, he's always in my chat. He says he's a midfielder. I'm not on Kai Havertz in midfield. I'll hold my hands up if I'm wrong. I don't think he's the answer in midfield or up front. I prefer you up front, but let us know your thought, man.
I'm doing the whole I'm trying to. I don't rate Havertz, bro. In midfield or striker, he's not a striker. He's not a midfielder either.
I don't particularly rate him, but I'd rather you up front.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen more from you in the 9 position. But right now you're low on confidence. For me, you're not a natural striker. For me, you're not even a midfielder. So where do you play? For me, you're a second player. Like you're. That sounds harsh. You're an impact player. You need a number 9. It's a natural number 9. You come off the bench and can either affect the game or not. I don't think you're a midfielder personally. The height we do use from you, but right now you're low on confidence, and even that I've watched you just not at the stage for me. So he's neither for me. That sounds harsh, but that's just where I'm at. Arteta has earned another season.
Paddy, Paddy, I respect you. You can have your opinion. I'm not naive. I'm a content creator. By all means, critique my critique of whatever. But I have an issue with a comment like this. If you're just listening, Arteta has earned another season in charge, regardless of the season, whinging like spoiled kids. I think he has deserved another season because he's under contract, so he's literally going to be here. B, Mikel Arteta, sorry, Cecil and me, nobody has called him an effing this, twat, whatever. Why is it if we was blowing hot smoke up Mikel Arteta's arse saying we're the best team of 2024, we're doing this, we're doing that, no one would tell us to relax? It feels like, and this is the cult stuff I'm talking about, any criticism or critique or asking a question or any sort of independent thinking that goes against the group is seen as you're going against the grain. And this is my problem. Like, you're not allowed to ask questions, despite the fact of, if you rate the manager, like some of you rate him a lot higher than me, and he's actually high in my expectations, in my estimations. Why can't you hold him to them standards? Pep Guardiola, obviously Arteta's not him. Man, rate him. So they're asking what's going on there.
Yeah, I rate Arteta highly, but Paddy, I'm going by his own standards. 5-year plan.
He says it himself, yeah.
Last season he said this is not acceptable. You shouldn't be. This is not success, and that's what this Arsenal Football Club deserve. So I'm going by his own standards. So 5 years. This is his fifth. By the end of this 5th year, he hasn't got success by his own standards. He knows it's not okay. But granted, they're probably going to keep him anyway. But I'm just letting you know, I'm going by the standards that he's set himself. You can't call me wrong as a fan for that.
Exactly. That's what he says himself. And my last question for you, Cecil, would be, has the Kroenke showed us that they're winners? Have they shown ambition? Would they back or even hire an elite manager? Now, I actually think, away from the Mikel Arteta debate, that is something, because at the end of the day, the Kroenkes are not the full ownership 2018. They're probably going to be here a lot longer after Arteta leaves. So you could caveat that, you could, like, even if a new manager came in and won a league title in the last 2 years, what if we were talking about scheming on the champs? With the Kroenkes necessarily, in your opinion, back them to that level?
So this is actually a fair question. That's a fair question.
I think it's a great question.
Yeah, my thing is, have they shown ambition? Bro, they spent in that window when they got Declan Rice, highest English British transfer, our record signing. They spent around 200 million. They spent more than any other club. I think that's them showing ambition. They can't go out and play the games for the team. So that's them showing ambition. What the second part of the question is, signing an elite manager. I'll be honest, Arteta was probably a risk and was the cheaper option. Fair.
Yeah, it was.
That's not, and that is against the Kroenkes. I'll say, you know what, you kind of cheaped out there. But what Arteta proved, like, to then challenge, they're like, oh, we might have struck luck here. And then now the next stage is, okay, they're showing that he's a good enough manager to compete. Now let's back him, which they did. They gave him that much money and they signed all those players. So then the next stage is go and get it over the line. If he doesn't get over the line, the next stage, fair, when you can question the owners again. Right now, I don't think you can question owners. You can further down the line when it doesn't get over the line, and then we don't sign a new manager. However, I think they are going to keep him in place for a bit of a long time, because he signed a contract that's 3 years. So that's just
15 million a year.
Yeah, that's how the cookie crumbles. I think when you see ambition, you say, okay, well, you're not winning, so then bloody go and kick him out and bring someone that can go and win. But right now, I think they think he probably can win something. So I'm going to hold on to him. That if for owners that they're not soccer or football based. I was going to say soccer based. That's their terminology.
You've been chatting to them too much, man.
Chatting way too. They're not geared in that sense. But most owners, I don't think, apart from the Roman Abramoviches of this world, they're not really geared to that football mentality as we are as fans. So they're gonna hold on for a little bit longer than we probably want, but that comes from giving them pressure. But right now, I don't think they need that. I don't think they need that crazy pressure, because they've backed him. It's more on, let's wait till the end of the season. If things don't work, then you got to start putting in little words of, yo, owners, listen, he may not be the guy. But right now, it's not like we're crashing out of everything. Like we're not like, as in, and when I say crash out of everything, I mean out of the top 4, completely being smashed out.
We're not in complete disarray. I can have questions about what we're going, but obviously in relation to the owners, it's not abundantly clear that all roads point to Sassy.
It's not crisis right now. It's not crisis right now. So that's my take right now on the owners. But it's a good question, and can be, and I can see the other side of it. I can see the other side of the ones that are really on him. I get that, but right now I'm not there. That's just me. Go on. And make sure you sub if you're new as well and like the video. Big up.
My last question for you then, obviously, if you had to give it out of 10, how confident, just you as a fan, I mean, you can DM the Kroenkes if you can help us, but out of 10, like, how confident are you of somebody arriving at this club, like a signing? Like, because for me, I would say 5. I'm going to say 4, because now I feel I'm becoming a bit irrational. It's the 21st of January. I'm sure they're talking to people, but I need to see people. It's one thing telling me about Zubimendi in the summer. Carnival's in the summer, bro. January's right now. saved the year, bro. So what would you give out of 10?
Oh, this is a question that can come back and bite me in the backside. So it's tough. It's a tough one. I heard rumblings about Victor Gyökeres this morning from someone who's. And
I would be amazed if we signed Victor.
I would as well. I said, brother, don't gaslight me here because
it's the hope that kills, bro.
Yeah. So but the person, I mean, doesn't really come like he's close to the club. So I don't know. Listen, where I'm at right now, and the Arsenal's track record isn't great in January windows. I think there'll be the thing is, I actually think we will make a sign. I just don't think it's just not enough, regardless. Like
Kim Kallstrom settings, Dennis Suarez.
Like, whoever it is, I don't think will be enough. And also, one signing for me is still not enough in this window to really be serious about trying to win something. So, where I'm at, I think we will make a signing. I think I'm gonna say I'm playing safe. 7 is safe.
7? No, that's not safe. 7's rather bullish in my opinion about a signing. Well, I agree with you.
Let me drop that down then. 5 is average. 6, I think we will make. I do think, like I said, I think we'll make a signing. So 6, but I just don't think it'll be the right signing, or it will be enough. So then, okay, you make a signing, good, well done, but it's just not enough. So maybe is that average? Is that 5? It's 5 or 6. It's 5 or 6.
Like I said, for me, it would be a 5, but my emotions are now taking over. And again, I'm sure people are talking to people are doing whatever, but it's the 21st of January, bro. We've got bare games. I'm getting a bit nervous. I don't know who it is now. I agree with you in that a body will come in an ideal world. There's someone great and it's all magical, but a body will come in. Whether that player is good enough, whether we're convinced they're a needle mover or a difference maker is another thing. But I just think surely now, like I'm even scared I'm even looking at the club a bit sideways because all the language coming out in the media was like Gabriel Jesus' injury has forced that hand. Again, as I said at the start, everybody fit. There's still question marks, but I don't know, man.
I don't know. And Arteta in the press conference recently has been saying like, he's
changed his tune, innit?
Yeah, we need to make a signing. So that's what I'm saying.
Has been Cunha shouts.
Yeah, Cunha shouts and panic buy settings is also a good comment. I think now it's obvious, it's glaring that we need a signing. So I think we'll get a signing. Like I said, I just don't think it will be the needle mover. It won't be one that's going to get us. I hope it is, but I just don't think it will be. That's why I think we'll make a signing. So the original question is how much you think we'll get a signing. The rating, I think, it's a 6. It's above average. I think we'll make a signing. It just won't be enough and won't be the person that, we need. So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at.
End of the day, bro, we're going to have to live or die by what we've done or not done. As I always say, if nothing changes, nothing's changed. Nothing changes. So we're going to have to see. Cecil, this is over, gone. As usual, I appreciate you for tuning in, man. Let people, I can't imagine they need to know, but in case someone's heard you for the first time on this earth, let people know they can find you and all that jazz, man.
Same as always. You see me on AFTV. If not, Cecil_G. That's Cecil CECIL_JWE. I mean, there's a lot going in. So how can we get DG on AFTV? The real bro.
Tell Robbie answered blood clot.
I know. I think get
on to them, span them people.
There's a lot of changes. Yeah, there's a lot of changes happening. So hopefully, we can get you on Deluded at some point. I just got a phone call from my sister, but I'll ring her back in a second. But as the phone rings, but yeah, big up. No, the Deluded. Listen, hopefully we can get you on at some point soon. And yeah, man, you know where to find me. If not, it's all well and good. Like I said, I don't want to be found, if I'm honest. I'm happy right now, so it's all good.
To be honest, as an Arsenal fan, where is getting back into hiding season, really and truly, man. If I'm honest, man. But
love to your community as well, though. Big up everyone.
That's big them up, man. The majority of people are respectful, whether they agree or disagree. Of course, you're gonna get 1-2 idiots, but it's amazing. Obviously, Cecil, I'll probably shout you after the City game because let's let some talking points build. But as usual, bro, because I know we try and pattern these things quite frequently and you never act up. You're always here, appreciative to your time. People, leave a comment, subscribe, follow Cecil on the socials, go and check out the AFTV content. The man said, there's interviews and all of that, and check out what they did with Keown and Sol Campbell. Was quite a good sort of talking point thing. So yeah, on that note, people, peace. I'm back at 4 p.m. One love, folks. Peace.